It's Sunday, and like every good starving student, I've got nothing but a bowl of shitty no-name brand Cheerios and a video game to talk about, because I guess that's kind of what we do. And that game this week is Devilian, a game to pop up recently on Steam. So let's get this party started, shall we? So what is the best way to describe Devilian? Imagine your local supermarket cereal aisle. There's your old standby Cheerios. There's some more interesting stuff like Fruit Loops, that weird Australian imported cereal that you never really liked. Then there's that off-brand stuff that tries to look as much like the original as it can, but it's like way cheaper and like less appealing. Devillian is that weird box of off-brand stuff. I mean, it looks the same and it feels the same, but you don't quite remember Cheerios tasting this much like medical waste. Oh well, today it looks like we get to talk about crap while eating crap. Had no idea awful had a flavor. Calling Devilian a straight Diablo clone is somewhat selling it short. Yeah, it looks and feels very similar to Blizzard's favorite game about not Satan, but it branches out in a lot of strange ways, some of which work and some of which really don't. It does fit firmly in the genre of Diablikes, though. Games that are based on that wonderful top-down isometric beat-em-ups hack-and-slash style that were really popularized by Diablo so long ago. This one, though, has persistent multiplayer like Path of Exile, but it's everywhere unlike Path of Exile. Devilian gives us 4 options for classes to start with. The Berserker and Evoker, these seem pretty self-explanatory, your usual warrior and caster. Third in line is the Shadow Hunter, who is apparently just Kratos in his My Chemical Romance phase. And the Cannoneer, one that might be God damn it! The Cannoneer is one of those young anime girls that you see a lot in terrible, terrible animes. Which, I'm all for giving people the option to play whatever they want, but like a lot of Diablikes, Devilian has its head up his ass about customization and thinks it's really dumb. Therefore, each class is really kind of pigeonholed into one look. In fact, all of the classes are also gender-locked as well. There's some minor tweaks you can make, like hairstyles, which defeats the whole point of these being specific characters. But all Cannoneers are going to wind up being prepubescent teenagers, and in a game that throws around sexualization like it's an ad for Game of War, would really rather not wind up on a list somewhere on that one. Looks like that one is out. Let's stick with the Evoker. At least she's an adult. We open to some princess saving us from, I guess, like something, and then immediately being captured by something.
Help me! The one it's bound to. In the end, the blade shall be mine.
Fucking really? We learned that we are half devil monster things that were sealed away for some reason, but now there's a bunch of like full devil dudes who are like messing everybody's day up. Was Demon taken? Like, did you just want to not be that close to Diablo? Like, what's up? Shortly thereafter, we catch up to our captured princess, and, this happens. Hold up, run that by me again. Should I give you 2 a minute? I'm gonna give you 2 a minute. Let you guys sort that out. We're introduced to the game's antagonist, Malik, who's apparently using some chunks of a spear that once killed a god to summon devils. Because world domination, I guess. I don't know. We then immediately kick his ass. In his own element, in fact. Which immediately kind of disarms him as a bad guy. I mean, at least Diablo kind of puts the hero in his place, even if it's incredibly predictable. He is still like this overbearing threat to the player throughout all of his games. Malik just kind of immediately gets his ass handed to him by like a 5th level player. Kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. I can't lose. And after that brief and sweaty burst of exposition, we're tossed out into the world, and we begin the moderate to long journey of chasing the glowing yellow exclamation point. Yes, it's one of those, while stealing Diablo's art style, combat style, and monster designs, and I guess probably its plot, they also managed to accidentally lift the questing system directly out of World of Warcraft. Yes, get ready for the joys and epic battles of killing small numbers of monsters, collecting chunks that fall out of them, and fighting the occasional boss monster. Yes, that is what's going to make up a majority of this game's leveling. And it's right about here for me that things really start to fall apart, because this system makes Devilian incredibly boring. Combat in Devilian feels pretty lifted from Diablo 3, even to having builders and spenders on most classes. It's quick and it feels really satisfying when you're facing down monsters that challenge you or in large groups. You have a lot of powerful abilities to lay waste to your enemies quickly, a lot of tools to blow shit up. But you know how in Diablo and Torchlight you're kind of always being attacked on all sides? You're kind of being thrown huge packs of monsters or really powerful groups of monsters. You never really kind of feel safe. Devilian doesn't really have this. Monster design is more like your classical MMORPG. Monsters roam around in small packs, which you can easily aggro one at a time. This kind of works really well for a game with slow, meticulous combat, but doesn't work for one where you can shit fireballs like insert bad Taco Bell joke. I mean, like, look at this. I'm walking right past these enemies and they barely look at me. They feel like they're just kind of here to die. They pose zero threat and just kind of suck. This wouldn't be a big deal, but this kind of monster design and area design and threat design is a majority of the game. It's the primary avenue for advancement. Not to mention that most of the monsters you encounter in the field are basically little knaves. They're made of paper mache. Most of them don't even make it to me before they die. Most of them don't even last more than a few seconds under the onslaught of my attacks. It's kind of ridiculous. You're bringing artillery against an anthill. Devilian's got really fast and fun combat, but the MMORPG monster placement and quest design really slows this down to a boring slog. You're given all these awesome abilities, but you're always fighting throwaway monsters. Even mini-bosses don't really pose much of a threat. You're never really given a challenge to require your fast and fun combat. In my entire playtime, I died once, because I decided to challenge a mini-boss 4 levels stronger than me, just to try and feel something. But Devilian's dungeons do decide to bust out the big guns. Now that you're out of the field, this is where the game starts to feel legitimately enjoyable. Usually the dungeons are fairly short. They throw in a bunch of challenging monsters, traps, and treasures. It starts to feel more like the Diablo source material it's ripping off. And it's usually capstoned by a badass boss battle with special abilities and attacks. Makes it feel unique and threatening. It shows what the rest of the game could have been like if it wasn't such a boring trudge through throwaway monsters. On the positive side, there are a lot of systems within the game that work together pretty well, and make the game at least somewhat interesting. Each class has got 3 trees to invest in through a point system you get by leveling up. Hey, wait a minute. The fuck? The talisman system, which is basically Pokemon cards that can be upgraded and evolved to provide your character with extra bonuses, is also pretty interesting. I mean, it's got a lot of nice things going on. There's sets, you have to hunt them down, you can find them all over the place. Even if the art is a little bit, what's the word? I don't know, all the blood just rushed out of my head. There's also stuff like the Devilian system, which allows you to occasionally transform into a giant angry devil form with special abilities based on your class and unlocks. It can be upgraded as well through various means and has its own spells and abilities. It feels more like a cool cooldown to be used against bosses, but it can be made more interesting by more powerful enemies. It provides a different form of character advancement, even if that advancement is somewhat similar to what we have with a normal character. Not to mention, most of the zones are gorgeous to look at. The art style of the game is very crisp and clean. Even if it does look very similar to Diablo, it doesn't feel fake. It actually looks like they put a lot of heart into it in its own right. There's a lot of detail that went into every area you pass through, like monsters swimming under bridges or gorgeous backdrops. There's a lot of nice things to look at in this game. There are a lot of cool ideas here that are sadly failed by the game's insistence on a more MMORPG-style monster questing system, instead of more Diablike systems that could have benefited the game a lot more. Maybe instancing so monster spawns could be more dynamic. The questing zones are already basically just linear adventures. Why not incorporate more of the dungeon-style monster spawning there? Or just more monsters with a better aggro system that makes them more threatening. Or they could have just broken off and gone their own way with it. There's a lot of cool stuff that they could have done with this, but it just, right now, feels like a lot of wasted potential. I'd be able to recommend Devilian higher if it worked out its questing and monster placement systems in the world. I mean, you could spam dungeons to level instead of taking part of this incredibly boring overworld, but those dungeons just really highlight how cool the game could have been everywhere. Diablo clones are not a bad thing. Diablikes are fine. Torchlight is a Diablo clone, no question, but manages to surpass its source material in a lot of cool and interesting ways. Path of Exile is most certainly a Diablo clone, but managed to create a unique world within those constraints. Devillian just kind of feels cheap. Like it took a lot of good ideas from it, but also kind of mixed them in with a lot of bad ideas and caused a lot of those good ideas to not work. They had a lot of good things, but they didn't really seem to know the context of those things, so when they came together with the other systems they created for the game, it just felt kind of boring and cheap. It feels like some areas of play got more work than others. So I mean, if you're a really huge Diablo fan and wished it had a more persistent multiplayer system, or wish it tried a bunch of new things, wanted to break out of the box and feel something new, then try Path of Exile, because Devilian probably is not worth your time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to head down to the emergency room before my organs shut down. Why, hello there, and thank you very much for watching this video on Devilian, an MMORPG Diablike by Bluehole Gino and Tyrian Worlds. It's not a great game. I hope you enjoyed this video, though. If you did, please like, subscribe, support the channel that way. It means a huge amount to us here at the channel. And if you have anything to say, if you think that I am full of shit, or whether you think whatever, post it down in the comments. I try to respond as often as possible to you guys. But thank you very much for watching again. You all are fantastic. And happy holidays, and you all have a great one. No stinger today, ladies and gentlemen. Instead, a public service announcement to all of the game designers, future game designers, and developers out there. If you ever decide to make a quest for your game where you have to randomly add people as a friend, don't, because it is the most irritating fucking thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Don't do it. Don't do it.